rolling tumors to roaring lampooners, the Tigers on a Roll show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Tigers on a Roll. We are deep into November, folks. The air is crisp, the Iron Bowl is looming right around the corner, and the playoff picture is getting messier by the minute. But today we are focusing on individual glory and maybe Auburn's own Heisman contenders. The Heisman Trophy race is about as hot as it will be until someone is actually voted a winner. And we're going to break down the leaders, we're going to look at the odds, and talk about how things have changed for the race for this prestigious trophy. And stick around because we're going to have some breaking news coming out of the practice facility that changes everything for this weekend as far as diehard Auburn fans are concerned, and probably also Deuce Knight's own mother. But let's look at the board. As of this week, which is mid-November, almost the end of November, Vegas has shifted some lines significantly with some of the fiascos that have happened throughout college football the last few weekends. And we have a big three right now. And they've separated themselves from the pack that used to be a little bit more bunched up in terms of stats. And leading the way is Fernando Mendoza, quarterback from Indiana. Right now, he is the favorite at about 115. He's thrown 30 touchdown passes and is completing 73% of his throws. He can win this trophy on narrative alone. Taking the Hoosiers to a potential undefeated season is kind of the Cinderella story that the voters absolutely love. And he had a massive Heisman moment against Penn State just a few weeks ago, and that sticks in people's minds. But it comes down to schedule perception. If he struggles against Purdue, or if the voters decide that the Big Ten schedule was too soft outside of some of the ranked teams that they played, they might look for a blue blood candidate. Right on his heels, though, is Julian Sayin at Ohio State, who is certainly at a blue blood program. He's sitting at 225 odd, plus 225 odds, but he is peaking at the perfect time. Over the last 3 games, he's thrown 10 tutties and 1 pick, and he looks like the best player on the best roster in the nation. And I'm surprised that he is not the favorite, but I think it is. I think it just comes down to the big game. If he loses to Michigan on November 29th, whatever that is, history of the Heisman Trophy says that he's done. Quarterbacks who lose that game late in the season, rivalry week, rarely lift the trophy. And then we've got a dark horse in Marcel Reed, Texas A&M. He is plus 500 right now, but A&M and Reed have so much momentum. He just, quite literally just in their last game, led a 28-point comeback against South Carolina. And that is the game footage that is used to replay Heisman moments through history. He is a dual threat nightmare with over 20 passing touchdowns and some serious rushing stats. And where he sits, looking at this race from the outside, he probably needs some chaos in those other 2 schedules. He needs Mendoza or Sayin to slip up at some point in the next 2 weeks. And without conference title upsets, his raw passing numbers might not be, gaudy enough compared to the other 2 to win him this trophy, although he certainly has fought to deserve it. And I'll touch base on someone who I don't think deserves it, and that's Ty Simpson. And this isn't just Alabama hate. Ty Simpson does not even come close to real contention this year or historically compared to the numbers that are put up by QBs that win this trophy. I mean, he may have been a careful passer throughout the year, and they beat Vanderbilt. Nice. He's been well protected, but he's not a threat on the ground. And after the Oklahoma game, I'm not sure he's composed enough to be in contention for the Heisman Trophy if that was the only issue with him. I mean, he was absolutely rattled, and you do not think of Heisman winners as players that get rattled. If he played anywhere else in the country, he would not be in the conversation for the Heisman, and he definitely would not have been a favorite just a few weeks ago. And you might have noticed something about that list. Mendoza, Sayin, Reed, they're all QBs. And that has been a major trend in college football recently. If you look at the last 2 decades, the Heisman has essentially become the best quarterback on a top 5 team. Which is also why Ty Simpson ain't going to be in the running for it. But that's the award. Best quarterback, top 5 team. And it wasn't always that way. If you go back to the 70s and 80s, early 90s even, running backs dominated the award. Guys like Tony Dorsett, Bo Jackson, Barry Sanders. In fact, between 73 and 85, running backs won the Heisman 11 times. But since 2000, quarterbacks have won the trophy 85% of the time. And sure, the game has changed. Offenses are spread out. They run hurry-ups. It's very pass-heavy. In 1985, throwing for 3,000 yards was heroic, and now it's just a standard season. And that inflation makes it incredibly hard for skilled position players on both sides of the ball, especially defensive players, to crack the code unless they're doing something that's just absolutely unprecedented. And I personally, as like a former athlete, not in college for football, but a former athlete and someone who's a diehard Auburn football fan, and I catch basically every minute of football that has been played since 1995. I personally do not care whether or not a QB throws for 4,700 yards. I like to see game changers, players that put the team on their back. Keep in mind, the Heisman Trophy is supposed to be for the most outstanding player in college football. I don't buy into the premise that being a good quarterback makes you outstanding in and of itself. And this is what's going to bring Auburn back into the mix here. We know there's elite talent on the Plains. And give credit where it's due to the veterans that are carrying the team. And a veteran in Jeremiah Cobb. He has been an engine for this offense since they decided to make a concerted effort to run the ball. He has 5 100-yard rushing games this season. He's the first Tiger to do that since Tank Bigsby. And he's closing in on 1,000 yards. And he's an absolute weapon in the return game. If this were 1985, he'd be in New York. And this year, if he rushes for 300-ish more yards in the next couple games, he could break into the top 5 rushers in the country, given that they don't have they're not at their average, but potentially Jeremiah Cobb breaks in and he's top 5 rusher in the country. And then you have on defense, you got Xavier Atkins. Atkins is playing like a man possessed. He leads the SEC in tackles for loss. He's an absolute menace. And so, sure, you got R. Mason and everyone like that, but this is about Auburn players right now. Debo Atkins ruined game plans every Saturday. And he is another type of guy that passes the eye test when you're talking about outstanding college football players. Now, neither of those guys are in any serious contention or conversation, which is unfortunate for them because they are such highly talented athletes. You know, maybe if Auburn as a whole was doing better, like their season went better, then maybe there would be some Heisman hype for those guys. Probably not Debo, but I want to see the days come back where defensive players were at least respected in getting in the Heisman talk. But if Auburn had done better, you know, you potentially see some Heisman hype for those two. And then obviously you inherently get one for the quarterback. I don't think Jackson Arnold's that guy. You know, maybe Ashton could have done it if Hugh Freeze wasn't involved in the program. But Auburn needs to get back, in the Heisman talk. every year. And not just those guys, not just a stud defensive player or a running back that's putting up insane numbers, not just a quarterback who fits that mold of airing the ball out and doing whatever. But nobody, we don't have a single guy at Auburn who is in any sort of conversation to lift that trophy, and we haven't since Bo Nix left as a dark horse for Heisman, and then didn't have a good season, and then went to Oregon, and then almost won the damn thing. So let's just hope we got one in the future, and I think we do, and I think specifically, it's a guy who could legitimately win this trophy as soon as next season. But that campaign started today. Reports from practice are that true freshman QB Deuce Knight is taking first team reps. We already know that Ashton's sitting to preserve his red shirt, but Deuce is seeing reps with the ones, and that signals that the coaching staff is ready to unleash our secret weapon against Mercer on Saturday. Deuce may be raw, but the conversation does not end just because he's a freshman quarterback. You cannot discredit him. And before we talk more about the young gun, let's hear from our sponsors. Brahma Marketing is your one-stop shop for everything from signs and apparel to high-impact vehicle wraps. As a certified 3M graphics company, they guarantee quality and durability. They've partnered with Graystar Real Estate, Prisma Health, HD Supply, and more. Stop blending in and start standing out. Visit brahmamarketing.com to get started on your next project. War Eagle from the Orlando Auburn Club. Are you an Auburn alum or fan living in the Orlando area? This is more than just a club. It's your official connection to the Auburn family right here in Central Florida. The club hosts watch parties and networking events for past, current, and future Tigers and their families. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and online at orlandooauburnclub.org. Hold on. We'll get the Deuce Knight in a second. Physically, he is created in a lab. 6'4", 215, and a lefty QB. But the athleticism is what separates Deuce from his cohorts. He is a guy with a 42-inch vertical, and scouts have compared him, his running style at least, to Lamar Jackson. Long strides, deceptive speed, the ability to make linebackers look like they are stuck in quicksand. Against a team like Mercer, Deuce could legitimately slice and dice his way to a convincing victory in his first real action, and maybe even go into the offseason having secured the job, the number one job at Auburn. And sure, Mercer's having a great FCS season, but they simply do not have the athletes in the front seven to contain Deuce on the edge. If he gets to the outside this weekend, it's over for them. And don't forget that he can throw the ball about a half mile. He has some of the most insane arm talent of any top quarterback recruit in the last 5 years. And look beyond Mercer. Look at 2026. We just talked about how the Heisman has become favorable to dual threat quarterbacks. And look at some of the winners. As already said, Lamar Jackson's a comparison. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Robert Griffin, Cam Newton. Auburn's very own Cam Newton. Deuce Knight fits that prototype perfectly. He has the arm strength to hit the deep vertical routes that the offense loves, the weapons that we have on the outside love, but he has the legs to rush for 900 yards in a season. If he can ball out against Mercer, maybe get a package in the Iron Bowl, we're looking at the guy who could be leading the Heisman odds this time next year. And the Deuce Knight era, as far as him starting reps with the ones today, the Deuce Knight era has officially begun. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. here. So I guess let's just worry about the game in Jordan-Hare this Saturday. because you might just see the debut of the next great Auburn superstar. So keep your eye out specifically on what Deuce Knight is up to on that field. We will keep you updated on anything coming out of the practice facility as far as Deuce's reps go, what people are saying, what people are seeing. And hopefully this week is the start of the Deuce Knight era for real, and all of that talent that was so highly touted is going to start to come to fruition, and we see it in the A-Day game. We hear about it in the offseason, and we see it next year in a super competitive QB battle, and maybe even Deuce getting a starting role as a redshirt freshman. In the meantime, that's it for this episode of Tigers on a Roll. Make sure that you like this video, share it, and continue the conversations over on X and Instagram. Until next time, War Eagle, and I will see you.